Hey folks, and Happy New Year! I hope that 2020 will bring you many good things. Now, I'm not one to make New Year's resolutions because I find the tradition to be rather arrogant and foolhardy, as none of us really know what's going to happen in the course of our lives over a year's time span. But one of the goals I have set for this year is to produce videos at a higher rate because I feel that those who support me, especially those who do so financially, deserve more content than I have been providing for the last few months. I believe it's fair to say that we live in very strange and confusing times. There are many reasons for this, but the one I want to focus on today is the world of academia and what it now means to be educated versus what it used to mean. In days gone by, if someone was fortunate enough to receive the benefit of a university education, that really meant something. It meant that at the very least, they could be relied upon to serve as pillars of their community. Someone who had learned enough about a given field and the related requirement of how to think critically, that if you needed help with any kind of difficulty, they would be the first person you would go to if you knew them. I say this because in the past, even the recent past, say about 10 or 15 years ago, going to university didn't just mean learning about the things involved in your chosen profession. It meant learning about the world more generally and learning how to think for yourself. This is why educated people were seen as those who could be relied upon to provide assistance to their communities. It saddens me to say that I no longer believe this to be the case. I think that over time, universities have ceased to be institutions which foster wisdom and independent thought, becoming instead indoctrination factories which teach young people to view the world through a very particular lens. In my country, South Africa, a worrying number of students believe that they should be granted access to higher education at no cost to themselves. We're at the point now that several times a year across the country's universities there are riots which often turn violent and destructive because students feel as though they are entitled to all sorts of benefits such as free textbooks, monthly allowances to cover their costs, and all sorts of other things which they expect the government to foot the bill for. Not only is this impossible in practice because of South Africa's ever-shrinking tax base, I believe it is also immoral in principle because whatever they choose to believe, in reality, there is no such thing as a free education. Someone always pays. While I obviously condemn the use of physical violence or intimidation to achieve one's goals, I do not believe that the students themselves are entirely to blame for this mess that's been created. After all, what does somebody at the age of 19 or 20 understand about economics and what things actually cost to provide? No, I have to wonder what these kids are being taught by the adults around them in order to make them believe that they are owed all these free things. It seems to me that once upon a time, Educators saw it as their duty to produce students who could go out into the world and build things for the next generation. Whereas now, it appears that they would rather teach kids about how oppressed they are and encourage them to tear things down instead. If you take the time to read a few opinion pieces written by prominent academics, it's not uncommon to see Western science and logic being dismissed as a product of racism, colonialism, and imperialism. All buzzwords which, quite frankly, mean nothing but you're white, so we don't like you or what you have to offer. And when I take a look at the state of things from a global perspective, I can see that this phenomenon is not one that is unique to this country. What this sort of rhetoric produces is young adults who believe themselves to be wise merely because they have learned a bunch of buzzwords that they can chant like some sort of magic spell. And these kids, when they encounter real problems that require actual logic and creative thinking to be overcome, simply don't know what to do with themselves, and so collapse in a heap, once again reverting back to the childlike mannerisms that they have not been taught to outgrow. This is why I no longer believe that education can be considered synonymous with wisdom. It doesn't matter how smart you believe yourself to be in theory. If you can't solve the practical problems presented to you by everyday life, then you are not much good to yourself or anyone else. In fact, of all the people I have ever met, many of the wisest don't have any formal qualifications to their names. So the next time someone tries to treat you like a lower life form simply because they have more degrees than you, I hope you bear these things in mind. For now, farewell.